Good morning, students. A very good morning to all my dear friends. Welcome you for the Success at CA exam session organized by the Board of Studies. We are here to guide you for final paper 4, Direct Tax Laws and International Taxation. Hope that you all are doing well. See, this paper, the paper of Direct Tax Laws and International Taxation are very dynamic paper. And it keeps on changing with the passing of Annual Finance Act every year. Apart from these Annual Finance Act amendments, the notifications, circulars issued by CBDT are also very significant for you, right? For the final exams, the significant judicial update, judicial rulings are also very important for you. They provide you or guide you how to interpret the law. Where there are certain interpretations issues, they are being clarified by the decisions taken by the High Court, decided by the High Court on the Supreme Court rulings, tribunal and all. But for you, it's High Court and Supreme Court ruling are important, right? So due to this reason, basically for direct tax paper, it is very essential for you that you must be aware of which finance act is relevant for you and which are the relevant assessment, which is the relevant assessment year, and accordingly you have to study for the particular examination, right? So for May 24 examination, you must all be aware of that the particular Income Tax Act as amended by the Finance Act 2023 is relevant for you. Accordingly, the relevant assessment year is AY 24-25, right? And there is a cutoff date also. Since you are going to prepare for May 24 examination, the cutoff date for amendments, that is your circulars and notifications issued by the CBDT up to 31st October 2023 are relevant, right? So cutoff date up to whatever be the circulars or notifications, the significant circulars or notifications are relevant for you. Accordingly, you have to attempt the paper, right? For that purpose, the study material, actually the study material is there for you for doing your preparation for the subject is updated in accordance with the Income Tax Act as amended by the Finance Act 2023 and which is relevant for assessment year 24-25. The same study material which is relevant for your May 24 examination is also relevant for your November 24 examination, right? So the Finance Act, even though there is an interim budget which is being passed right now, which is that interim budget amendments are not relevant for you for the November examination. The Finance Act remains the same for both May 24 and November 24 examination. Accordingly, your relevant assessment year is also the same, that is assessment year 24-25, right? But the cutoff date for the amendments will be changed for November 24 examination. For example, for May 24 examination, the cutoff date is your the notification and circulars or legislative amendments which are being issued up to 31st October 23 are relevant. But for November examination, up to 30th April 24 will be relevant for November 24 examination. So the study material, basically, it covers the amendments. It is updated in accordance with the Income Tax Act as amended by the Finance Act 23. Also, it contains the significant notification and circulars which are being issued up to 31st of October. But those notification circulars which are not contained in the study material we are giving you by way of statutory update, which is uploaded on the BoS Knowledge Portal website, which is there for the May 24 examination. For November 24 examination, the separate statutory update will be published for you. That will contain the notification circulars till 30th of April 24, right? So the study material, the addition of the study material is October 23 edition of the study material is relevant for May 24 examination and November 24 examination. In addition to this study material has to be read along with the statutory update, right, which is for May 24 examination. Then there is a judicial update also. Here it's not mentioned in the PPT, but there is a judicial update also, which is very significant for the paper of this final paper 4 direct tax laws. So the judicial update contains the significant rulings of the apex court or the High Court, which is also being web hosted at the BoS Knowledge Portal. So kindly download these two publications and that these publications also have to be keep in mind while preparing from the study material, right? Then we are also providing you RTP. This is revisionary test paper, right? It is for the purpose of revision purpose, right? It contains the questions or MCQs, case scenario based, these things. But this RTP, it is advisable you should do the RTP only once you have done your study from the study material. That means you have completed your every topic which is there in the syllabus from the study material. You have solved all the illustrations. You have done with your test of knowledge questions, the significant case laws which are being given in the study material itself. It is advisable go through everything, do prepare well for those things. Then you attempt solve the RTP. So for solving the RTP, you should not directly read the solutions. We advise you read the questions, try to solve yourself, then compare your answers with the answers given in the RTP. That will give you the confidence also that whatever you have prepared, you have had a good understanding of everything. You are very prepared for your examination very well, right? So this is the way you will going to take the RTP. Beyond this RTP, the BoS also come out with the MTPs, right? There is a series 1 MTP, then there is a series 2 MTP. We have already come out, issued a MTP series 1. So those who have already done your studies or done your RTP and the MCQs, which are there on the MCQ portal, then you do your MTP series 1. And MTP series 1 again, don't take too much time in solving it. You have to do your MTP in the examination condition. What it means? It means that during the examination, you got a 15 minutes reading time. Utilize the reading time doing the descriptive portion, and then remaining 3 hours you have to utilize for solving the answers, right? So do in your examination condition whatever questions you are able to attempt, you do it well. You do it. Then after completing your 3 hours time, you stop your pen then and there itself. Don't go and stretch beyond it. Don't try to get the answers or try to get the solutions from referring to any study material or any publication which are being provided to you, because during the examination you are not going to get anything, right? And in that manner you would be able to also manage the time. Then you will come to know whether I would be able to solve the question in the examination paper or not, how to give how much time have to be devoted for the MCQ section, how much time is to be devoted for the descriptive section, first compulsory question. So in that manner you would be able to get know how much time is you require to attempt the paper, right? So this is the way you are going to do the MTP. So these are the things. Now, under the new scheme, earlier in the old regime, first of all, the major change that earlier this paper number was 7. Now it is at paper number 4, right? So several times I also keep on using the 7 number itself, but keep in mind this is paper number 4. There are only 6 papers. Right now. So this is paper number 4, final paper 4. We have also assigned the syllabus of the paper is being divided. Whole syllabus of this paper is divided into major 3 sections, right? See, direct tax laws along with international taxation make this paper very interesting actually. And it's really very, practical paper where you will feel you can relate the things with the practical situation. You have already done your articleship, or those who are doing it, your articleship, you will see that whatever you are reading or studying, you can directly use your knowledge while doing your training, while doing these things in a practical form. You can easily correlate all these things, right? And in that manner, if you are relating the provisions with the practical issues, then you have a better understanding of the provisions. You will understand how to analyze the provision, how you would be able to examine the provisions, right? You would be able to know the implications of the provisions. So this is better that you should do your articleship and make full use of this subject as well during your articleship, right? So similarly, based on that, the income tax law have the provisions which can be categorized as, substantive provisions or compliance and procedural provisions, and then definitely international taxation, which includes both substantive and, compliance provisions, including that cross-border taxation, cross-border transactions have to be keep in mind to understand the taxability of those things. This is for international taxation, right? So these 3 sections. First section is relating to your substantive provisions, right? And for that substantive provision, section 1, we have given the name that its nomenclature is section 1, which contains the substantive provisions of the income tax law. And for that purpose, we have assigned the weightage assigned for it is 40 to 45%. Overall weightage is 40 to 45%. right? Let me tell you that in the study material, I just skipped it my mind that the study material at presently, the October 23 edition of the study material is divided into 4 modules, right? There are 4 modules, module 1, module 2, module 3, and module 4 is specifically for international taxation. Module 3 covers basically your procedural laws, right? Module 1 and module 2 are for your substantive provision. So module 1, if you see module 1 and 2, both are for section 1, right? So section 1 means 40 to 45% are covered in your 2 modules, and remaining portion is there in your module 3 and your module 4. This is the way. Now, let me tell you what are the weightage being assigned for this section. First is substantive law. It covers the provisions from your basic concepts to the total computation of total income and tax liability of various entities, right? This is the thing. And it also includes your charitable trust. It also includes your tax planning portion, then your taxation of digital transactions. That means up to chapter 12 up to chapter 12 are covered in section 1. In this section, there are another bifurcation, that is subsection 1 again. That is weightage assigned for that subsection is 20 to 23%, for which the chapters including are in this subsection is chapter 1 to 9. That means from till computation of total income of and tax liability of an entity, right? Then assessment of trust, again, very interesting. It's a separate code actually. It's not related to normal provisions. Separate special provisions are there. You to deal with this assessment of trust, REITs, securitization trust, investment funds. Special provisions are there in the Income Tax Act. So this is in chapter 10 now. Earlier, the REITs and InvITs are covered in your assessment of various entities. From this, in the syllabus, it is being covered in your chapter 10 along with the trust. It is forming part there. Now we are having tax planning and tax avoidance, tax evasion chapter. And of course, at a professional, when you are going to be a professional, you are going to, advise your clients in the way to do the tax planning things, right? Don't go for the tax avoidance and tax evasion. For that, GAR is there, which is, very, very important. You have to keep in mind, there are SAR provisions also there are GAR provisions also there. While advising the clients, you please stick to your tax planning things. Now we are having your taxation of digital transaction. This is the, now every industry is, doing the digitalization. So it's very much required. Income Tax Act also required the provisions to deal with these transactions. At presently, the government have come out with your equalization levy. Right, equalization levy is what actually, which is being dealt in your taxation of digital transactions chapter and your virtual digital asset. It's a new provision which are being brought by Finance Act 22, I think. So these are the new things. Government also, have to keep in mind the pace of the industry, that how the industry is moving. Accordingly, they have to come out with the provisions of the Income Tax Act. So this is being covered in your chapter 12. From this section 1, we are moving to the section 2. Section 2 contains the procedural aspect of the Income Tax Act, for which the weightage assigned is 20 to 30%, and the chapters are categorized from chapter 13 to 20 are there in this section. So 24 to 34 marks, I have mentioned that how much marks what are the minimum marks can be from this section, and accordingly the weightage is assigned. Then we are having very interesting international taxation. That is 30 to 30. Huge weightage is assigned for this international taxation portion, right? It's 34, minimum 34 marks and maximum 40 marks can be asked from this section. Major change in the syllabus is that black money law has been included. Your tax audit now forms part of this syllabus along with the ethical compliances, right? While a tax auditor, giving you its report in Form 3CD, he has to keep in mind that he is playing in an ethical manner. You have to, report certain things. So that portion, it's a, main charm of our new scheme is that in final label, all the subjects, the ethical portion is must to be, you are required to be educated from the ethical aspects. For that purpose, this chapter is there, tax audit and ethical compliances. Earlier, the equalization levy was forming part of your international taxation. Now it forms part of your DT itself, which is covered in your चैप्टर 12, राइट. सो इक्वलाइजेशन लेवी भी यहाँ पे आ गया आपका, इक्वलाइजेशन लेवी आ गया. तो इंटरनेशनल टैक्सेशन का पोर्शन और भी कम हो गया आपका. इफ यू सी दैट इट कवर्स नाउ इंटरनेशनल टैक्सेशन, इट कवर्स योर नॉन रेजिडेंट टैक्सेशन, योर DTA provisions, advance ruling, transfer pricing, and the last BEPS, application interpretation of treaties, and model tax convention, and latest developments in international taxation. These are the things for this international taxation, chapter 8, right? So basically non-resident taxation special provisions are there, but you should be aware of that the certain provisions are such for which a resident can take the benefit, but non-resident are not allowed to take the benefits of that. Further, special rates are also being available for the doing this non-resident taxation. So what is the modus operandi for the today's session is that we are going to take you through some of the we will try to make you revise certain topics of from particular section. Like for example, we are going to take section 1, then section 2, then section 3. First of all, let's understand before proceeding with your revision portion. I would like to clarify what is the manner of assessment. This manner of assessment for DT paper was already there, that you already was assessed for 30% as MCQ segment and descriptive section 70%, that remains same. But the difference is that basically now the case scenario, the main emphasis for MCQ assessment is that MCQ would be based on your case scenario mainly. So पहले थोड़ा कम होता था, the portion for the case scenario is less, but now main assessment would be on the case scenario based MCQs, right? There would be some independent question also, but major portion for the 30% MCQ section would be on case scenario based MCQ. For 70%, same 70% is your descriptive question. You all must be aware, you all are aware of that for MCQ section, you need not to give any kind of reasoning. You are not required to give any reasoning, but for descriptive, of course, it is very essential that you should read the requirement of the question, accordingly substantiate your answer with the proper reasoning, right? Don't write unnecessary things. See the requirement, what is the requirement, and write accordingly the provision, right, which is required to derive at a particular solution. So this is required in MCQ. There would be no negative marking and no reasoning is required for MCQ section, but it is very essential that in MCQ, if your answer gone wrong, then you are not going to get any marks. But in descriptive portion, since step marks are there, in case some adjustment, some treatment gone wrong, then even then for the treatments which you have done correctly, you would be able to fetch some of the marks. So be extra careful while attempting your MCQ section, right? This is the strategy for MCQ sections. And now let me tell you what would be your question paper pattern. 30%, that is your 30 marks gone to your MCQ portion. That would be compulsory for you. And remaining descriptive portion is divided, it will come into 6 questions, right? There would be total 6 questions of 14 marks each, right? Yeah. And the first question would be compulsory question, which carries 14 marks, and another 5 questions would be there. From that you are going to attempt any 4. So in overall you are going to attempt 5 questions for 14 marks. That would comes to 70 marks. That's right? Yeah. And you will get an internal choice also in the remaining 5 questions. Remaining 5 questions. So this compulsory question of 14 marks, let me tell you, this is from your section 1 itself. And this compulsory question would carry 14 marks and it tests your evaluation and synthesis skills. It means that how you are interpreting the provision. Are you able to integrate the provisions carefully? Are you able to examine the provisions? Interpretational skills, your examining skills, and your analysis skills will be tested from this question itself. And not only that, now you are required to recommend the optimal solution to minimize the tax liability of the entities. And that it's possible nowadays. There are 2 types of regimes. We are following normal provisions and the concessional tax regimes, which are available for cooperative societies or your companies other than firms. Actually, if I say other than firms, there are 2 separate regimes are there, everything. But basically for cooperative society and this thing, is different. There are three things: 115 BAB, BAA, that is for your companies; 115 BAD, BAE for cooperative society; and for other entities, individuals, HUF, AOP, BOI, or these are the things who have to pay tax under the default tax regime. This is optional tax regime. 115 BAA, BAB are the optional tax regimes, whereas the 15 BAC become the default tax regime in case if assessee do not want to pay the tax under the default tax regime, then they have to shift out of that default tax regime, right? This is very important. You should go through the things, and these, if you are opting for the concession tax regimes, or you are shift out and paying the tax under default tax regime, then you have to keep in mind that you have to forego certain exemptions and deductions. Those you have to remember. What are the exemptions and deductions would not be available under the concession tax regimes. That you have to keep in mind, right? When in compulsory question, what would happen that you are being asked to compute the tax liability or total income of a company. Suppose to minimize the tax liability, then you are required to compare the provisions, normal provisions, with the concessional provisions, then derive at the conclusion whether the company is it's beneficial to opt for the concession tax regime or pay the tax as well as normal tax provisions. Keep in mind, under the concession tax regime, MAT is not applicable. Right? When you are paying the tax under the default tax, this concession tax regime, then you need not to compute the MAT provision. You need not to compare. But when you are paying the tax under the normal provisions, then you have to see the implications of MAT as well. Right? Then only you will come to know and compare the tax liability of a company. In cooperative, MAT is compulsory for everyone. Every company, right? इसमें ऐसा नहीं कि अगर if they are opting for certain claims or deduction, then only MAT applicable. No, this is not the case. Whereas in case of AMT, if you are claiming specific deductions which are listed there, 10A कर रहे हो, profit link deductions you are claiming, then AMT comes into picture, right? So AMT आपको तभी लगेगा when you are claiming certain specific deductions, whereas MAT in all cases corporate has to pay if their normal tax liability is less than your MAT liability, right? In that manner, you have to go to solve this question and remember the deductions and exemptions, the special rates which are being applicable in case of 115 BAA, BAB. So we have planned that we are going to, let's give a brief revision of these concession tax regimes, since they are become really very, very essential for you to go through.
Before that, there is a query from Mansha. Compulsory question can be asked from international taxation?
Compulsory, see, MCQ section is your whole compulsory question. So international taxation से आपका compulsory question भी आ सकता है, ठीक है? It can be asked. और आप अगर if you say तो compulsory can be on anything, specifically इसमें नहीं आएगा, but अगर आपका foreign company का आ गया something, if they asked you something relating to or some adjustment which is related to international taxation itself, then वहाँ पे you cannot ignore it, right? So ऐसा नहीं है, you cannot. International taxation is very, very important, and
it contains huge weightage also.
Huge weightage. You cannot, take a chance to leave these provisions. Any provision you cannot leave, but if you want to give a strength, let me tell you how much marks actually that I skipped it. That if you see here in the section wise weightage, it is you please note it. That for subsection 2, I'm telling you subsection 2 of section 1 contains only three chapters. That is charitable trust. Of course, it contains your provisions relating to REITs, investment funds, security trust, discretionary trust as well is contained in this chapter. Plus your tax planning, GAR is there, of course, and your taxation of digital transactions, which contains your VDA provisions and your equalization levy. These three chapters, 20 to 24 weightage is assigned. So 20 minimum 20 marks will be there. And from your international taxation, see here, it's 34 to 40 marks are assigned for international taxation portion. So अगर आप इनको total करोगे, if you do its total, then it is coming to 56 marks. Minimum is 56 marks from the whole syllabus. You can easily, if you are doing it properly, you have a full confidence, and please don't take any chance to skip even and lose a single marks. Right? अगर आपने इतना कर लिया तो other में करोगे तो easily you can, score 70 above in the DT portion. So have good hope. If you have prepared well, then you are definitely going to come with the flying colors. Don't worry about it. So this is the things. That's why please don't ask कि compulsory क्या है क्या नहीं है. everything you have to do, make everything your strength, right? So MCQ section itself is a compulsory section. Anything can be asked from the MCQs, of course, keeping in mind this section-wise weightages. Then apart from this compulsory question, what type question can be asked from this section 1? There can be another descriptive question, or MCQ question can also be asked from this section, right? Like from provisions of PGBP, capital gains and income from other sources, clubbing provision, basic concepts, computing your marginal relief, computing your basic concept. आपका MCQ आ सकता है. If they can ask you MCQ question, they can test me through the MCQ section. Right? This is about the section 1. So this I already explained. Yeah, it's very essential that while attempting this, any question in descriptive, you have to substantiate your treatment with the proper reasoning. Brief reasoning. Don't write huge things, but the requirement. If you are, for example, आपके कोई disallowance है या फिर 3580 की specified business के relation में कोई deduction है, तो आपको लिखना पड़ेगा that the entity has is a specified business, is eligible for deduction of 100% of the capital expenditure is allowable since it's a specified business and claiming deduction under section 3580. Brief reasoning you have to. Reasoning. For every adjustment, you have to give a reason. Whether it's allowed or disallowed, for both, you have to give the reason. Yes. Right. So, and yeah, that I already told, that special tax regimes are there, normal tax regimes are there. Normal, as per the normal provision along with the MAT. You have to compare with the special tax regime with the normal provision along with MAT in case of companies. In case of cooperative society, of course, normal provision with the concessional tax regime, BAD, BAE. If especially company is claiming certain deduction in normal provision, then AMT can also come into picture. That also you have to keep in mind while making any comparison, right? And of course, you have to keep in mind the different rates of tax being given in these sections. Special surcharge rates are also there. In case certain things are not clear, you are required to make certain assumption. Please clearly state that on what basis, what assumption basis you are solving your question. Clearly state that assuming this thing you are doing in this manner. So clearly state your answer in this. And AMT provision, of course, will come into in case if it's a cooperative society, a question is there, then AMT provisions or other entities ke case mein. But basically, first question would be on companies or cooperative society, or firms also can be there. But firms ke case mein no concession taxation regime is there. This is the way. Then I think we can quickly, in case they are having any doubt. If you have any query till the date regarding the paper pattern or regarding the section-wise weightage, so you may ask. Otherwise, we just have a quick revision of concessional tax regime under section 115 BA and BAB. We are waiting just 1 or 2 minutes in case if you have any specific doubt relating to the content which you have covered till right now. So you can ask. You are not able to hear it properly? I guess voice is clear. Others, please tell whether the voice is clear. Harsh is asking something related to black money. Like in black money, asset and income disclosed prior to previous year 15-16 is considered out of scope in RTP, and in module it prior to that it is considered. Harsh, in respect of undisclosed income, if your undisclosed income is in respect of prior to previous year 15-16, then it would not be taxable taxable under black money law. It's not in respect of foreign asset. It is in respect of foreign income. So see the difference in the study material and RTP. The RTP question which we are telling about, I guess it is undisclosed income, not is in respect of undisclosed foreign asset. Please read the provisions carefully. Please read the there is a difference between undisclosed assets and undisclosed income. Undisclosed assets के case में it depends on the assessee's residential status. ठीक है, वो किस टाइम पे रेजिडेंट था. If assets acquired किया था, if at that time he was resident, then also they can come to, because they are taxable in the previous year in comes to the notice. जिस साल आपका टैक्स उस साल टैक्स होते हैं undisclosed asset. Undisclosed income उस साल होता है जिससे रिलेट करती है. So there is a difference between these two. Please read the module question also in case you are getting doubt, and read the RTP question. There must be some difference, right? So please do it. Okay, voice is clear. New scheme. You are this Kuraku, what you are asking? What is the difference between new scheme, default tax regime you are asking? In module 4, of course, from chapter 25 to 29, basically knowledge-based question is asked from these fundamental of BAPS, application interpretation. One knowledge-based question would be there relating to that. और इसकी implication actually DTA अगर आप देखोगे तो model tax convention DTA कहीं ना कहीं part, it's the part of DTA itself. So in that basis you can be tested through the MCQ section also, right? So basically from this section these chapters knowledge-based question is asked.
Prasad is asking, ma'am, as equalization levy is moved to direct taxes from international taxation, can we expect POEM in international taxation? Yeah, Prasad, POEM is very much in the international taxation. If you see in the study material, it is covered in non-resident taxation only. So yeah, in international taxation from the non-resident portion, POEM can be asked in the question. So that will be covered in international taxation only.
POEM, when you are required to, determine the residential status using the concept of POEM, it is in respect of foreign companies, basically, right? It is, of course, is a forming part of your international taxation itself. But equalization levy, if you see, and then it is from your Finance Act 2016. The equalization levy was enacted by your Finance Act 2016, and it's a direct tax portion itself. If you club the direct digital transactions, it is on the digital transaction. That's why we have categorized, it has been categorized in the direct tax itself. Right, but of course, POEM cannot be classified in DT. में नहीं लेके आएंगे. Of course, everything is DT. You cannot read anything without referring to the Income Tax Act, right? If you are doing your DTA also, you have to come to the DT. Income tax too, you have to ultimately refer, right? DTA also has to be read in line with the income tax provisions, but it is being categorized as international taxation portion.
Kirti is asking, MCQ will be only case scenario based or direct question also?
Direct questions means no knowledge based question will be there. Right? MCQ will be fully application oriented. Will be there.
Whether in the form of full-fledged case scenario, there may be a case scenario out of which 4 or 5 MCQ can be there, or there can be a single MCQ also, but that would be on the case scenario. You will give the some facts are there, some situations are there, then only MCQ will be asked. There will be no direct MCQ, no direct question in the MCQ.
Direct questions nahi hoga, and not at inter level also. If you see the inter label, no direct questions. But minimal marks are there for a direct question, hardly 2, 3, 4 marks, not more than that. In DT also, leaving these 4 chapters in international taxation, no direct question will be there, no knowledge based. You are required to, understand and apply the provisions in a problem solving situations, right?
Kuraku is asking about the difference between new scheme in the form of syllabus. Syllabus mein what is the change?
Achha.
You on paper 7 and paper 4. No.
Right. So that I already told you that in this new regime, actually, if you see, we have not covered in the chapter, salaries is not covered in detail, house property is not covered in detail, but specific provision of salary can be tested in your non-resident taxation or the DTA provision section, right? They can be tested like a standard deduction, professional tax, the deductions available under the salaries hat. But since you have already done your intermediate label, you are expected to have the, aware of the provisions of salaries. You cannot say ki salary nahi aa raha, tum hame nahi, we cannot answer these questions. You cannot say like that. So full-fledged salary questions would not be there. In case of house property also, house property case means certain specific provisions are there, which is covered in your chapter 1 itself. Go through those provisions. Relating to some case law can also be relating to house property, which is covered in I think PGBP chapter. So do that. Liability in special cases specifically is not there. Wholesale chapter is not there, but some specific sections which are very essential are covered in respective chapters. Like some are covered in assessment of various entities, some are set of provisions also, some are covered. Trust mean discretionary trust is covered in your trust chapter. So accordingly, these topics are covered. Then your insertion are black money law is included, right? Your tax audit and ethical compliances are included. These are the differences between the new schemes, right?
Prasad is asking ki, because POEM the question is not asked after 2018, so can I expect POEM in the place of equalization levy? Prasad, we have already told you regarding the weightage that in international taxation, the weightage is 30 to 35%. So 34 marks to 40 marks can be asked from this section. So any question on poem, transfer pricing, advanced ruling, your double taxation relief, or the last 4 chapter, it can be from the any chapter. Non-resident may it can be on the poem, it can be on the your special provision related to non-resident taxation, regarding the TDS for non-resident. So it can be in the any form. So there is no particularly regarding the poem can be asked or not.
The poem and equalization are not substitution,
not
actually. They are
substitution.
no substitutes. A specific question on poem can be there.
हाँ.
नहीं आया अभी तक. It can be asked right now.
Like
हो
in,
सकता ना हो.
हाँ,
We
like in
cannot guess
transfer
anything.
pricing, it can be on 94B,
हाँ.
92C, APA. It can be on anything.
Right. So equalization levy or ye, they are not substitute. Both questions can be asked. Its specific weightage is also assigned. So it's, we are assuming that ho sakta hai, there may be question on equalization levy would be there. But of course, we cannot, predict anything. These are the probabilities only.
Preeti is asking, now default regime is as per 115 BA and BAB. No, Preeti, default tax regime is for individual HUF, AOP, BY and artificial juridical person. For them, the default tax regime is under section 115 BAC. Yes. But in respect of company, the normal provisions are the default and they can opt for concessional tax regime under section 115 BA or BAB. Likewise, in case of cooperative society, you have to compute as per normal provision of the act, and the cooperative societies has an option to opt for concessional tax regime under section 115 BAD or BAE, subject to the
they forgo certain exemptions.
They forgo certain exemption or deduction, and they are eligible for that concessional tax regime. So for company and cooperative society, the default tax regime is not under concessional tax rate. For individual HUF, AOP, BY, artificial juridical person, for them only 115 BAC is the default tax regime now. So don't get confused between the persons. That is for different persons, and they are concessional tax regime is for different persons. So don't get confused between them.
Yes. In case they want to pay the tax as per the normal tax regime, the individual HUF, AOP, BOI, then they have to shift out of the default tax regime now. And for entities like companies, cooperative societies, they have to opt for the concession tax regime. So don't get confused between these two, regimes. Confused nahi hona hai. They are the different persons. They are for the different persons, right?
Preeti, default, actually, what do you mean by default? Default means if you are not choosing any option, then you have to pay as per this regime. That is called a default. So for individual HUF, AOP, BOI and artificial juridical person, if they are not deciding, they are not opting to go out for that out of that regime, they have to pay under section 115 BAC. That's why it is calling a default tax regime. But for companies and cooperative society, they have an option to opt for concessional tax regime. So that likewise, just understand the term default. Default means just because you are not deciding or you are not choosing, you are not taking any option of shift out. That's why you have to pay under section 115 BAC. That is for in respect of 5 person only, individual HUF, AOP, BOI and artificial juridical person.
I think your doubt is clear. Please go through the provisions and understand how they are applicable, what their significance is. Please understand that thing, right? Don't get confused. Don't get confused between BAC, BAB, BA. These are for separate entities. Okay. I think we can now do a quick revision of, since Preeti is asking and I don't know, you are having some doubt regarding it. So I think we can give a quick revision for these provisions. I'm not going to here deal with the exemptions and deductions which are not available. Please go through the study material. Full-fledged table is given. Go through it. Important things like BAB, who can opt for BAB, and BAB or BA also foreign companies are not eligible, right? First of all, keep in mind BAB is applicable and BAB can be opted by a domestic manufacturing company or electricity generation company. Means manufacturing mean they have to be in manufacturing field, right? But BA can be opted by any domestic company, any. In whatever business they are engaged in, they can go for and opt for BAA scheme, right? And specific rates. Here BAB provides more concessional rates at a very reduced rate. You are can pay the tax at 15% rate is there in this section. They also provide 22% rate, then it also provides 30%. So you should be clear with when and for which type of income the rate of 15% is applicable, when 22% rate is applicable, when 30%, and when special rates also come into picture. So you should be very clear about it. Then BAA specific rate 22% is there and the special rates are there for this BAA scheme. Rate of surcharge, very, very important. If you are opting for this if the companies are opting for the concession tax regime, then they have to pay surcharge irrespective of their total income, right? Whatever be the total income, they have to pay a surcharge at the rate fixed at 10% under both regimes. This is under both regime. Even if they are paying tax for the specific income at 15%, or 22% or 30%, or in case of LTCG, for example, if the company is paying tax at the rate of 20% or at the rate of 15% 111A, then also you have to compute the surcharge also while computing the tax liability of the company. So 10% fixed surcharge rate is there under the both regimes, right? So accordingly, the effective tax rate under BAB is 17.16% effective. This is considering the 15% rate only. And here it is 22 plus your 10% surcharge and 4% cess. As I told, that applicability of MAT is not applicable in case the company are paying tax under the BAB scheme or BAA scheme. This is what important factor, that all companies cannot go for and opt for BA scheme. Only domestic manufacturing companies or electricity companies are eligible for claiming this, opting for this concession tax regime. Further, there are certain other conditions are also there. Please keep in mind and read and remember these conditions. What is this? Setup and register date is very essential. If the company is registered on or after 1/10/2019 and on or before, and it commences its manufacturing and generating electricity on or before 31/3/2024, this date been extended. Earlier it was 23. With the Finance Act 23, this date been extended to 31/3/24. So the companies which are registered and set up and commences their manufacturing during this period are only, but keep in mind this concession tax regime, they can opt only in the year in which they are being set up or incorporated. When they commences their manufacturing, as any first year of this, they cannot go beyond. अगर उन्होंने first year में नहीं किया तो नहीं करते. So what it means कि इनको भी previous year में ही करना होगा. Previous year, what is the relevant previous year for you is 23/24. So in the same year, if we are doing, then these companies can go and opt for this BAB scheme. And once they opted for this scheme, they cannot take a back step. They cannot again go to the normal provisions. Under both regime it happens. But BAA, the company have the option. Any domestic company can go and opt for this BAA. But once they have done it, so this decision also company has to very carefully take कि once they have come into this concession tax regime, then they cannot go back and take the go and opt for the normal provisions, right? So this thing, so there is no time limit under 115 BAA, whereas there is a time limit. Further, it should not be engaged in any business other than business of manufacturing. Further, इसके बाद भी, इसके अलावा भी there are certain business are being categorized. Please go and see your study material. What are the things where the company, which are the business cannot be classified as manufacturing. So those companies cannot opt and go for this concession tax under section 115 BAB. इसमें rates का please ensure that you should remember the rates कि when the tax or when the company has to, on what income the rate of 15% is applicable, on what income special rates would come into picture, then 22% rate and 30% rate. This you have to keep in mind. In respect of income from manufacturing or production or electricity of generation of electricity itself, only with respect to income from manufacturing or derived from manufacturing activity or generation of electricity only, then for those income, the rate applicable is 15%. If the company is having income which are taxable at special rates, for example, LTCG, long-term capital gains under section 112A, STCG, 111A, special rates are there. These are some examples. Then they have to pay at the applicable rates. Then 22%. 22% means if the company is having, for example, income from house property, it's having income from other sources they are having, then they have to pay the tax at the rate 22%. 30% in specific cases when their company are transacting, which are termed as specified domestic transaction, which are being transferring at a price which increase their profits, and the assessee feels that it would be that income which in case they have been engaged in such transaction which gets them the excess profits, that excess profits can be deemed as your income, and that income will be taxable at the rate 30%, right? Further, it's very important that in case company is paying tax under section 115 BAB, then no further deduction would be available in respect of other incomes. For example, house property may, if you go and see, then they would not be even available deduction in respect of 30% of stand deduction is also not available while computing a house property income, right? So no deduction would be available if they are opting for 115 BAB. Whereas under section 115 BAA, special rates are there and 22% rate is there where no restriction on deduction is there, right? Further, they have to pay tax at the rate of special rates which are applicable in respect of specific incomes. So these are the rates of tax. Other deductions like 10A, 35AD, certain other chapter 6A deductions other than 80M, 80JJ, they cannot claim certain deductions. So remember those deductions also. These you have to keep in mind while doing your computation of total income and tax liability, right? This is the way. Section 1 may, now we are moving to the subsection 2 of section 1. The weightage assigned to this section is 20% to 22%. Before it, let's, if you have any query, we can take.
Kirti is asking if in the question not giving regarding computation of tax liability in case of individual, then question should be answered on the basis of default tax regime. Yeah, Kirti, you are right. But suppose, because at the final level, your first question will be definitely on company or cooperative society. This question can be arises in case of double taxation relief for individual. So if nothing is mentioned in the question, then definitely you have to take as per default tax regime. But you have to see the weightage of marks also. If the question consists of 8 or 10 marks and there are not so many adjustments, so you or the question asked for most beneficial manner for the assessee, then you have to compute as per both. You have to advise which regime is beneficial for the assessee. So you have to compute firstly as per default tax regime, then as per normal provision of the act. And that point of time, you have to keep remember about the AMT provisions also, whether they are applicable or not. Then you have to advise to the assessee to which regime he should opt for. Okay. Jubal, are memory-based question asked in MCQ in the new scheme to memorize date, rates, etc.? First, Jubal, there will be no direct question in the MCQ, so there will be no direct asking for dates or rates. But definitely, you have to remember all these things. Suppose if for applicability of TDS, you have to see the threshold limit. You have to remember the rates of TDS. So question will definitely not ask you what is the TDS rate under section this. But you have to identify whether the TDS under a respective section would be applicable in this case or not. For that, you have to remember the dates also. If particular date is there, like in suppose 206C1G, amendment has come into effect from 1st October 2023. So definitely at that point, for that case, you have to remember the date of 1st October, whether the transaction is before that date or on or after 1st October 2023. You have to keep it remember the rates also, because different rates are there. 5% rate is there, 20% rate is there, 0.5% rate is there. So you have to remember all these things, but there would be no direct question. The question would be regarding the application, application of this provision key in the particular transaction, whether the assessee is required to deduct tax at source or not, and if yes, at what rate or on what amount. So regarding the memorizing dates and rates, it is very much essential in the direct tax papers. You have to remember dates, rates, threshold limit, everything. Applicability to whom, like in BB, like we discussed in 115 BAB, you have to remember that concessional tax regime is available to the domestic company and only to the manufacturing domestic company. So you have to remember all these things.
Yeah, so MCQ based question may definitely on descriptive also. These things can be tested. So you have to remember those things. Definitely time limits and rates of taxes. These things you have to, remember.
In assessment also, you have to remember the time limits.
Yes. Now let's take section 1, subsection 2. Okay, what type of questions can be asked from this thing? Both MCQ questions can be asked and descriptive form of questions can be asked. But whatever be the question, everything will be application oriented, right? So it contains your charitable trust, as I told, REITs, investment funds, securitization trust, discretionary trust, everything is covered in your chapter 10. And then your equalization levy, your VDA are covered in your chapter 12, and chapter 11 is for your tax planning, tax avoidance, and tax evasion, which contains GAR also. So charitable trust, what type of questions can be asked? Independent situations they can ask, right? Independent situation like testing what would be treated as application of the income of the trust, and what amount of corpus fund which would do not form part of the total income of the trust. These are specific provisions are there, which are there, which are dealing with such kinds of adjustments. And full-fledged question based on your computation of accredited income contained in section 115 TD. TD may accredited income when the trust is exiting from, this is exit tax actually, where the trust, if you are not, registered earlier, they were claimed exemptions or take the benefit of these resigns. But now the trust is merging with some other trust or moving out from that exemptions regimes, then they have to pay this accredited test. So on that basis, you can be tested. And you have to keep in mind, in accredited tax, you are going to be taxable at the maximum marginal rate, and the surcharge rate is 12%. It's fixed surcharge rate of 12%. You have to compute 30%, 12%, and HAC. This is the rate, specific rate. So independent questions can be asked. Scenario based question can also be asked, but now it has a huge weightage for these these 3 chapters. So independent MCQs or case scenario based MCQs or descriptive form of questions can be asked from this section. We would like to revise you the concepts, certain concepts from this subsection, basically relating to your charitable trust, or if time permits, definitely we will take you through the equalization levy concept also, and so on. We will move on. This I already told that in points to remember here, that tax liability provisions, computing the tax liability, applying the provision 111 to 13 in case of trust are different from the normal provisions. They are the specific provisions are there under the Income Tax Act to compute the taxation, to provide the taxation of the trust or REITs or InvITs. Then this already I have covered all these things. I think we can now move and take some revise the concept of charitable trust. In case of you have any query, then we will proceed for this case scenario. This case scenario was already there in your RTP. You have already gone through your RTP, and I think how many of you, I want to ask you this question, then how many of you were able to arrive at the correct answers while attempting the case scenario based MCQs which are given in your RTP? I want to ask from you. Then we are going to revise those provisions a little bit. I am just waiting before taking this case scenario. Please answer me, how many of you have arrived at the correct answers while doing your RTP?
I hope you all have gone through the RTP and you have solved it also. Tell me, Jubal, Kirti, Preeti, Prasad.
I hope you have all done your RTP, also your MTP series 1. If you have done, please answer and please tell us. Would you able to arrive at the correct answers?
No one is replying, so it means that you have not gone through the RTP so far. Come on, students.
Not yet. Why not yet, Mansha? I think this is the
high time.
High
Because
time, yes.
first MTP has also been conducted. Now second MTP is in the line, and you have not gone through the RTP.
Prashad, what you are replying? Yes.
Yes, I guess yes.
Yes, is a short form of yes. Okay. So due to that reason, actually, these are huge weightages assigned for this section. So we think that during this session, we can, make you revise certain topics of charitable trust. So let me tell you.
And participate in the case scenario with ma'am also, because at the time of MCQ, you just give the answer and then give the reasoning also, okay, why this is the correct answer. So participate along with ma'am.
Taxation of charitable trust. Only question 8 got wrong. Question 8. Okay. Question 8 is on. Let me see. Otherwise, you have done. Very good. Very good. So let's revise. Let me clarify you, because MCQs mein what happens when you arrive at the answer. Sometimes it happens without knowing the correct provision also, your answers could arrive at the correct answers. But when you do your descriptive, the reasoning is not correct. For that reason, let's revise it, right? You know that taxation of charitable trust. Taxation of charitable trust. Just a minute. Taxation of charitable trust are dealt in two regimes. You know it. You all must be aware of that 1023C or 11 to 13. This is known as first regime, and this is your second regime. So exemptions are given under the Income Tax Act. They can, claim exemption either opting for the first regime or going for the second regime, right? Section 1023C and 11 to 13. Earlier, what happened? The trust can opt for both. They can claim exemption if they are registered under section this 12A also can go and opt for claim the exemption under section 1023C. But with the passing the amendments, they cannot go and claim both exemptions. They have to go for either of the regime, either go for the first regime or 11-13 regime. Earlier, there were certain inconsistencies and gaps were there under both regimes, but by the Finance Act 2022, the gaps and inconsistencies have tried to be removed. Most of the provisions are now in harmonization and both are in the similar pace. So these differences have been carved out, they have been ended. Due to that reason, the flow of our study material is that we have mainly considered the second regime. We have given the provisions keeping in mind the second regime, wherein the similar provisions are not there in the first regime. For that, we have specifically given you the note that this type of provision is not there in the first regime. Further, particularly, there is a beautiful table is there, which is, giving you the comparing you both the regimes, that what are the provisions which are similar to the first regime, which are there in the second regime, because they are in section 1023C. If you see, there are 23 provisos. Beyond these 23 provisos, there are many explanations are also there. So it is very difficult. If you read from the bare act, you will definitely going to get confused कि हमें कौन सा proviso में what is mentioned. Yeah. So for that reason, to avoid these kinds of confusions and all, we have given a very beautiful comparability between these both the regimes. You can see, of course, it's very difficult to remember each provisos, but you can remember what is the subject, under these provisos. Based on those subjects only, you are going to compute the taxability, determine the taxability of charitable trust. So this is the table which is giving you first proviso, like first proviso is in line with the 12A of 11 to 13 is the second regime. So these are being comparability table is given in the study material. If you go and see and sideline, there are what are the provisions contained under these provisions is already also given. So this is a very beautiful table. The amendments and everything is given and bold and italics are being given to you. So you can go through in case if you want to know and learn the 1023C, you can, if you have understood second regime, then you are assuming that you have the knowledge of first regime as well, right? This is the thing. This is the table you can go through. Now, let me tell you in first regime, if you see, the trust can opt for anything. In case if they want to go for the second regime, then they have to register themselves under the second regime. And if in case if they want to opt for the exemptions given under section 1023C, then they have to seek the approval from the commissioner or the principal commissioner. For those also certain timelines to give to have a check over the approvals and the registration things, new code being given. For that also registration scheme is there, that when they have when every trust have to renew their registration every time. Every trust which have been get approval have to go and renew their approval in the 5 years time. So whatever be the trust earlier registered, they have to again register under the new regimes, as per the new provisions. For that, you please go through that table which is given for the both 1023C and this 12A AB. So go through that. What are the timelines, time limits applicable for the trust which are want to seek the approval under section 1023C, or what are the trusts which are seeking registration under section 11 or 12? These are the things. Now, let me tell you, let me briefly clarify what are the 1023C things. 1023C, if you go, section 1023C, 3AB is there. 1023C, let me make you a chart for you easily. If you go 1023C, how to remember? How you can remember it? There are sub clauses also. By differentiating these sub clauses, you can remember this 1023C. 1023C में clause 3AB is there. Oblique. I'm using oblique because the provisions are of similar kind. 3AC is there. Then your 3AD is there, and your 3AE is there. This is important actually. Based on these provisions, some independent question scenario can also be asked, or you can be tested by way of MCQs, right? Then your 4/5 and your 6/6A. Basically, यहाँ पे if you see, and 3AB is for education. This is for education. Then 3AC is for medical, right? Then 3AD is again for education and medical, but the exemption is granting on complying with certain specific conditions. For example, in 3AB and 3AC are on the same lines, that if a trust which is substantially financed by the government can go and claim the exemptions without any condition of seeking the approval or any other things. If they are substantially financed by the government, substantially financed means their government grants exceeds the 50% of the total receipts. Then such educational institutions, universities, or can go and claim the exemption. Similarly, for the hospitals which are classified as medical, we can also go for if they are wholly and substantially financed by the government. These are 3A, B, and AC. Then 3AD and AE are for education and medical. If in case if they are not wholly or substantially financed by the government, then further the Act is providing them the exemptions. It is based on their receipts. If their annual receipts do not exceed 5 crore rupees, if their annual receipts do not exceed 5 crore rupees, then they directly go for claiming the exemptions without claiming the approval, without seeking the approval or registration under the second regime in that case. But here there is a important thing. If a trust, having both, engaged in both, imparting the education, also doing the medical under the philanthropic scheme, then both their receipts would be aggregated to avail the exemptions. So you have to keep in mind, if the trust is engaged in both type of activities, providing the education or providing the medical facilities, then their receipts has to be aggregated to provide the exemptions, right? So 3AD and 3AD are very, very important things, right? If the trust are not, have the receipts in excess of 5 crores or which are not substantially or wholly financed by the government, then those trusts have to seek the approval from the principal commissioner or the commissioner, right? Then those trusts have to seek. For them also, there are certain conditions that they have to, 15% is the unconditional application. For the 85%, if they are applying for the purpose of the object of the trust, then they can claim the as a treated as an application for the trust, right? So there are certain conditions. In case they could not, utilize those receipts and they could not apply those receipts, then they have the option to accumulate that fund for 5 years, and they can in the subsequent years they can go and apply that for the particular purpose for which it was been received and for the purpose of the object of the trust. So there are conditional exemptions basically under 4, 5 and 6, 6A. These 6, 4, 5, 6A specifically. Keep in mind, here I mentioned 1023C if you see. So this is actually 4, 5, 6 and 6A only. Because other 3AD, 3AB, 3AC, these are the unconditional, these are based on some condition. They are straightforward, would be exempt. But for seeking the exemption, the entities which are falling under the clauses 4, 5, 6, 6A, then they have to go and seek the approval. So this is being termed as first regime. Keep in mind, not 1023C AD or AE or AB, that is not, but these from 4 to 5, 6, 6A would be classified as first regime, and 11 to 13 are second regime entities. So first question basically based on that only. In the first question, let me see, I think Mansha, you have not done, or other people also have not replied. I want you people to answer this question. I am reading for you. Let me read the case scenarios. First, give you the briefing of the case scenario. What is that? There is a trust naming Seva Niketan, which is registered under section 12AB. Runs an educational institution. It runs an educational institution or a hospital, and also a hospital for treatment of persons suffering from mental disorder solely for philanthropic purposes. The trust furnished the following income. The trust have the receipts for the previous year 23-24. Education institution said the receipt are 3.10 crores, and from hospital the receipts are 3.40 crores, right? Total receipts of the trust are that. Other than this, the voluntary trust also received the voluntary contributions during the previous year 23-24 from the public to 105 lakhs ki, which is included in the first receipt. These voluntary contributions are also included in the first receipt. It also includes corpus donations. This is again a specific provisions are there for corpus donation. We will see what are these provisions. Very, very important corpus donation related provisions we will see. And anonymous donations also. Specific provisions are there which are dealing with the taxability of anonymous donations. During the previous year 23-24, trust purchased computer for 80 lakh. Read the case scenario very carefully while attempting the MCQs, because you have to, compile all the information while attempting the MCQs which are based on that. Here the trust, its information is given that trust has purchased the computers for rupees 80 lakhs out of the corpus funding. तो कॉर्पस फंड में कितना रिसीव हुआ था 55 लाख. इसी में से फ्रॉम दैट रिसीट itself the trust has utilized that corpus fund instead of building. This was received for the specific direction that it should be utilized for the purpose of building, but the trust has utilized it for purchasing the computers, so for 30 lakhs. And apart from this 30 lakhs, trust also borrowed the loan of 25 lakhs for purchasing the computers. There is a specific provision that if you are purchasing making the application, purchasing something from the loan, then that would not be treated as your application. Application would be treated only when you are repaying the loan. There is an amendment in relation to that also, when it would be considered as your application. We will see that. So out of loan, the trust has purchased 25 lakhs. Voluntary contributions, it received overall 105 lakhs. From that, 25 lakhs are being utilized for purchasing the computers. Then the trust, there is a condition that the corpus fund has, in case for it is receiving for the specific purposes, and then it has to be invested in the modes specified under section 11.5. In case, then only they will not form part of your total income. There is a condition. And if they are spending that amount not for the purpose for which it received, and not investing in the specified mode, then it would not be considered as your application. ये तो है ही. First thing is it would not be considered application. Further, it would also be taxable. There are two things. ठीक है? So fund, the trust, the Seva Niketan fund have received the donations, and it invested how much money? 10 lakh in post office savings bank account and Canara Bank as fixed deposits, and also in NPFC. You have to, just remember this 11.5 mode. Especially, these are overall, major things you try to remember what are the specific modes specifically. Further, it also deposited. How much? It also deposited what? 15 lakhs towards post office saving account, which were utilized for purchase of building during the previous year 2021 में. ठीक है, मतलब earlier utilize the fund from the corpus fund. The fund had utilized something from the corpus fund for purchasing the building during the previous year 2021. There is amendment in respect to this. When in case they are reinvesting, because the fund, what fund is doing here, what trust is doing here, trust is deposited back to the post office saving bank account. But that application, would it be classified now as an application? There are certain conditions now when it would be treated as an application, that we will see. And some amount is relating to previous year 21-22 also, that is 5 lakh rupees. Further, the trust also paid to another trust which is registered under 12AB by way of donation of 10 lakh rupees. It donated to some other trust, and from that amount 2 lakhs are given as corpus donations. Earlier, if the trust is paying to the another trust, whole of the amount can be treated as application. But there is an amendment by the Finance Act 23. Only 85% of the donations which are giving to the other trust registration first under the first design or in the second design, only 85% would qualify as application. But corpus donation never classify as application, either given out of the current year income or out of the accumulations. It never be classified, treated as your application. So please keep in mind that. Now, further, trust has also 6 lakh rupees, which is being amount set apart in previous year 2023. They have accumulated certain fund like 85%. If the firm is not able to utilize during that current year, then trust has the option to accumulate it for the 5 years by giving the application in form 10 and up to a prescribed time limit. And during that time, they have to invest that amount in the specified modes also. So this is the thing. So 6 lakhs mean they have accumulated by the trust, but it has been utilized for making the donation to another charitable trust whose object is also same, but there is a condition that the accumulated fund which is being set apart for a particular purpose has to be utilized for that purpose only. It cannot go to another purpose, then otherwise it would be deemed as your income, right? Deeming provisions would be there. It would be deemed as your income. Further, Section 115 BBI also being inserted to tax these deeming income at a special rate of 30%, right? So there is a specific provision 115 BBI also come into picture in that specific case. So that deemed income is not taxable at the normal rate. It would be taxable at the 30%. 30%. Okay. So this is the thing. Important thing for the trust, I will say, they are taxable as association of persons, AOP, or they are taxed as AOP. And from this assessment year AY 24-25, AOP has to pay the tax under the default tax regime. Okay? Keep in mind, while determining the tax liability of the trust, they have to pay the tax under the default tax regime unless they are shifting out of the default tax regime. Yeah, definitely. Every time it would be beneficial for the trust that they should pay the tax under the default tax regime, because जो exemptions available है trust को under section 11 to 13 or 1023C, they are nowhere denied under default tax regime. So it would always be beneficial. ठीक है? So keep in mind, this is very important. उससे related हमारा इसमें, I don't think इसमें कोई question fall कर रहा है, but please keep in mind, when you are competing, some income is given to you, some anonymous donation is given to you. Anonymous donation के लिए special rate is there. It would be taxable at 30%, providing up to exceeding the particular limit. और जो normal donations होंगी, it would be taxable at under the default tax regime at concession tax rate. Accordingly, you compute the tax liability because that would be beneficial. हो सकता है क्वेश्चन में कुछ ना लिखा हो, फिर भी आप डिफॉल्ट टैक्स रिजाइम में यू हैव टू कंप्यूट, राइट? दिस इज द इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग. नाउ लेट्स टेक क्वेश्चन नंबर 7. Seva Niketan, I am reading question for you. Try to answer. I want the answer from you. I have explained the related provision which is being dealt in this particular question. Seva Niketan wants to avail exemption under section 1023C AD and 1023C AE in respect of educational institution and hospital for the previous year 23-24, can it do so? First option, yes, it can do so, since annual receipts for each activity do not exceed 5 crores. No, it cannot do so, since trust is registered under section 12AB. No, it cannot do so, since aggregate receipt from the education and hospital exceeds 5 crores. D option, no, it cannot do so due to the reasons mentioned in B and C. That means it is registered under section 12AB, or its aggregate receipts exceeds 5 crore rupees. This is a very simple question. I hope that I am going to get a correct answer from all of you. Right? So I am waiting. Just see how much the receipts of the trust from these activities. 3.10 crores are the receipts from educational institution and 3.40 crores are from the hospital. So these are the receipts. Specifically, question is asking, can the trust avail the exemption under section 1023C 3AD and 3AE? Please read it.
Okay, Mansha is saying C. Prasad is also saying C.
Any other person? Any other student, please?
Preeti, Kirti,
Kuraku.
Jubal, participate in this because
simple question, I think. This is not very difficult question.
If you participate, then you will be able to learn more, because if you hesitate to answer, then there will be no purpose. So whatever you think, maybe A, B, C, D, whether it's right or wrong, we are here to help you, to guide you. So please write. Preeti is also saying C. So
I think we should not inform you what answers are giving the other students. Right. Prashant, you are right. Mansha, you are right. And Preeti, you are also right. Very good, students. Since the aggregate receipts for getting the exemption under these clauses, I already told you that you have, if the engaged in two activities, then yes, aggregate of the both the activities has to be seen, right? First, lekin if the trust is registered under 12AB, if it is registered under section 12AB, then can they opt for this exemption? See, यहाँ पे क्या है ना, in case of first proviso, so section 11(7) says, in case if the trust is registered under section 12AB, then if they are, claiming the exemption, they seek the approval under section 1023C, then their registration will become inoperative. They have the option. They can go and seek the approval, avail the exemption under section 1023C, but they have to seek the approval. Here, approval is not required, but still they cannot, avail the exemptions. But so that's why this answer is not correct, because they cannot avail the benefit of both the things.
Both the things. Yes.
Okay. Further, now I am reading you the second question. I think before second question, I would like to clarify what is the tax treatment of this corpus donations. There is a confusion basically. What happens now in case of corpus donation? Let me tell you, corpus donations are of two types. A trust can receive the corpus donation, or it can give donation as corpus. Give donation as corpus. So यहाँ पे क्या है? What is the thing here? If the trust is receiving the corpus donation as corpus, then section 11(1)(b) provides that they will not form part of your total income if they are invested in the modes specified under section 11(5). So condition is that they will not form part of your total income. That would not be included in the total income if they are being invested in specified modes. This is the condition. Further, इसके अलावा आपका exclude हो जाएगा 11(5) में, if they are investing, then it would be excluded. ठीक है? If instead of investing, if they are spending it for the other purposes, like in this case, trust is doing what? It has received the donation for the purpose of building, but they are spending for purchasing the computers. then can it be considered as your application of the trust? जो आपका 85% है, which the trust has to apply to claim the exemption, they can it be treated as application? No. If not invested in 11.5 mode, then and spent for other purpose, right? Other purpose. फिर ये आपका एप्लीकेशन तब भी नहीं बनेगा और इट विल बी टैक्सेबल ऑल्सो, नॉट कंसिडर योर एप्लीकेशन, प्लस टैक्सेबल भी होगा ये.
मतलब here two things are here, student. First of all, the corpus donation which you receive, that would not be exempt, that would form part of your total income, plus the amount which we spend for other purpose also, that would not be treated as application. So two things are there in this case.
Two losses. So generally trust ऐसा नहीं करते, but provision as such, in case if trust do so, then they would be that amount would be taxable also. और वो भी taxable आपका किस rate पे होगा? You know, it's not taxable at the normal rates. It would be come under 115 BBI में आ जाएगा, right? And it would be taxable at 30%. So generally trust do not do such kind of acts. But in case if the since provisions are there, in case if trust does, then they have to suffer two things. It will not be treated as application and it would be taxable at 30%. This is regarding the receipt of the trust.
Receipt.
In case, now we are talking about the in case trust donated to giving donation to other trust. Donated, whether registered under the first regime or second regime, then also donated to other trust as corpus, it never be treated as current year income से देते हैं,
either from the accumulated income
और accumulated income से देते हैं. It would not be tax. It would not be
treated as
application. ठीक है, no application. यहाँ पे भी नहीं मानेंगे और यहाँ पे भी नहीं मानेंगे. और यहाँ पे भी जब आप accumulated से देते हो तो it would be taxable as
deemed income.
Deemed income. ठीक है, यहाँ तो आपने यू आर गिविंग समथिंग, मैं तो करंट ईयर इनकम, करंट ईयर कॉर्पस डोनेशन वाली इनकम नहीं है ये. डोंट गेट कंफ्यूज विद कॉर्पस डोनेशन कि फंड ने कॉर्पस डोनेशन को किसी और को डोनेट कर दिया. नो, अदर इनकम, वॉलंटरी कंट्रीब्यूशन हो सकता है, ये कुछ भी हो सकता है. वो 11.5 वाला मोड नहीं देखना है यहाँ पे आपको. यू हैव टू सी if any income, current year income, they are donating to the other trusts which are registered either under the first regime or second regime, then that would not be treated as your income application. Further, if they are paying such sum as corpus out of the accumulation, which is the amount which is set apart, then that would not be treated as the application also, and that would be deemed as your income and taxable under section 115 BBI. Keep in mind this thing. ठीक है, ये यहाँ पे नहीं है, क्वेश्चन है यहाँ पे is very easy, but this is the provision you have to keep in mind regarding corpus donation कि आपका corpus donation की what information is given to you, right? If you see another question, यहाँ पे what question this question is saying about what amount of corpus donations received by the trust would not included in the total income of the previous year 23-24. A 25 lakhs, B 40 lakhs, C 15 lakhs, D 55 lakhs. Prashad was saying that he could not arrive at the question number 8 correctly, right Prashad? Your answer gone wrong for question number 8, right? Now I am asking to other students, please try to answer this question. Read this question. Let me tell you how much is the corpus donations.
Yes.
Right? Trust has received corpus donation of rupee 55 lakhs. ठीक है, 55 lakhs received किया. How much they are investing in specified modes? These are two are specified modes. The NBFC are not 11.5 mode. ठीक है, these two only will classify as your specified modes. Okay, let's see. So 15 lakhs they are spending here out of 55. 55 में से only 15 lakh they are spending, investing in specified modes. Remaining what they are doing? 25 lakhs, 30 lakhs they are doing?
They are purchasing the computers.
Right? हमने क्वेश्चन क्या पूछा है? क्वेश्चन इज नॉट कि हाउ मच विल बी treated as your application, how much will be included in your total income. Question is asking you how much amount will not form part of total income. So वही part होगा which is being invested in specified mode. What are the options for this? 55 lakh में से only 15 lakhs are being invested. ठीक है? So what answer you are giving? Prashad is saying B. How Prashad B 40 lakhs? Please, if you can specify, then I will come to know reason for answering choosing B as the option.
Prasad is saying as computer purchases 30 lakhs and amount of deposit in a specified mode 10 lakhs. So put together it's a 40 lakh. First of all, Prasad, in case this, you have set the deposit in a specified mode. I guess 15 lakh.
Only 15 lakhs.
15 lakh, not 10 lakh. Because
Canara Bank fixed deposits also
हाँ.
falls under this is specified modes.
And
only NBFC is not. Canara Bank has fixed deposits and Post Office saving fixed deposits. Yes, Sridharan, you have answered right. Mansha also right. Preeti also right. So you have understood the concept that here trust, what trust is doing? Trust is investing only in a specified mode 15 lakh rupees. Remaining amount 30 lakh they are utilizing for some other purpose. Uska tax treatment क्या होगा वो हम next question में understand करते हैं.
So this 30 lakhs Prasad which we are telling for purchasing computer, that is not a specified mode because corpus donation is received for the purpose of building, not for purchasing the computer, and they are purchasing the computer. So in this case, this corpus donation, that 30 lakh which for which they purchase the computer, that would not that would form part of your total income.
ठीक है. So मतलब specific purpose के लिए utilize करते तब भी नहीं करते. अगर नहीं करें then they have to invest in the specified modes. If not utilizing, then that would not be excluded from your total income. It will be taxable. ठीक है, आपका taxable होगा. अब किस रेट पे होगा वो हम आगे देखते हैं. ठीक है. This is very very important. एक section है only 115 BBI. Only one section. Very simple section. But it requires have the understanding of 11.1b, आपके explanation 11.1d की, 13.3 की. There are many things under this 11BBI section itself. So specified income को, what income is classified as specified income basically? You have to understand that. In respect from this specified income, of course, no deduction is permissible. From this, no deduction is permissible to you. Let me take you through this. What income is classified as specified income? Let me see. So यहाँ पे whatever be the income which is classified as specified income would be taxable at the rate 30%, right? It is taxable at the rate 30%. इस respect में no deduction, no expenditure is allowable, no setup is permissible from this specified income. It would be taxable at flat rate of 30%. Default tax regime may tax their trust, but still it would this specified income is taxable at the rate of 30%. So first of all, first is where the income is accumulated or set apart in excess of 15% of the income, where such accumulation is not allowed under any specific provision of the act. So 15% is the unconditional exemption. Uska beyond, if the trust is saying no, I am not going to do, I can accumulate in excess of 25%. It cannot do. Only 15% is unconditional exemption, but beyond that, that will come under 85%. In case trust is not able to utilize that 85%, then they have the option to accumulate it and set apart for future use. They can use it further. For that, they have to, of course, give an application and fill a form. I'll give to the assessing officer specifying the purpose for which they are being accumulated. And till that time, they have to invest that fund in the specified modes. This is the first thing. Then again, deemed income on account of violation of certain condition stipulated for accumulation. यहाँ पे important. You have to understand when that utilize 30%. So what the trust, instead of paying any tax, what the trust will do? They will accumulate that fund and they will utilize in another next 5 years. There is a period of 5 years, right? Till that time for the purpose for which this has been utilized. In case if trust ceases to use that income, let's see what is this 11.3 actually. Let's understand this 11.3. इस क्वेश्चन में इसकी implication नहीं है 11.3 deemed income, but other में you should be aware of 11.3. See here, where the accumulated income is applied to purposes other than charitable purpose or to the objects for which first entities are established. Matlab, other than the charitable purpose, it is being utilized, then it would be deemed as your income. Simple. It's very easy. Then what the trust is doing, it is ceases to be accumulated or set apart. जो मतलब invested होता है, basically they have to invest that amount in a specified modes. उससे they are withdrawing and utilizing it for the purpose. It is ceases to be accumulated. Then such income shall be deemed to be the income of such in the previous invoice. Such ceases to be accumulated or set apart. When it is ceases to be accumulated, then income will be deemed as your income. First, second, third is ceases to remain invested or in the specified modes. Then also it would be deemed as your income. Fourth is not utilized for the purpose for which it is accumulated or set apart. For what purpose they are being utilized? It is not being used for that purpose. Suppose they are utilized for they are accumulated for constructing a building, but instead of constructing the building, it is being utilized for the purchasing the computers or spending the other purposes. Then it would be deemed as your income. This is important. यहाँ पे what it is credited or paid to any trust. It is credited or paid to any trust which is registered under the first regime or under the second regime. That income will be deemed as your income, right? And will be classified as your specified income. Got it? यहाँ पे it's not necessary that they have to, it would be deemed as income only if they are giving as a corpus donation. In any manner, if you are donating that amount, the amount which is accumulated or set apart, that amount would be categorized as deemed as your income and fall in the category of specified income, right? So this is 11.3. You understood this 11.3. Now 11b, deemed income. Why? On violation of deemed application. There is a provision that explanation 1, you have to read along with this explanation 1. Explanation 1 says when a trust receives certain amount, but due to specific reasons, they could not utilize it. What can be the reason? That they have not received during the year, or they have received the time, they have not left over the time, sufficient time for the utilization purpose. For example, they have received the income on the last day of the previous year or 2 days before the previous year, something like that. Then what they can do, they have the option to utilize that fund in the subsequent previous year. In case if it is not received on this, they do not have the sufficient time to utilize it, then they have the option to utilize that fund in the subsequent previous year. In case if they have not received that fund, then they have the option to utilize in the subsequent previous year in which it is being received, or the following previous year, right? If they are not able to utilize, uske base mein kya ho? Suppose for example 1 lakh is the amount which is being received on around 31st March of 2024. So they cannot utilize that fund in the same year, but it would be deemed as your application. यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है? That income is deemed as your application if deemed as your application, and they have the option to utilize in the subsequent previous year. If they are not able, they are violating the deemed application condition, right? So 11(1)(b) you have to read, and in that case, that deemed income would be categorized as your specified income. So once they have given you the option to deeming it as your application, instead though you have deemed it as your application, but in the subsequent previous year or in the immediately following that year in which you have received the fund, then that amount would be deemed as your income. Okay? But that income would be taxable at the rate of 30%. This is the thing. Then if you see, there are 6 things you have to remember in what circumstances. So specified income ki definition is so vast actually. You should have the understanding of all the provisions. Basically, if you say accumulation hai, where it is be deemed as a deemed income manenge, when there is you are not able to utilize it and you have due to the reason, then once it is considered as your deemed application, but you are not able to utilize in the subsequent previous year, then it will be deemed your income again. This is the thing. Further, what are the other things? Any income which is not exempt. What it means? Which is not exempt or on account of fund invested otherwise in the forms specified in the modes. For example, trust has received a corpus fund. Actually, I'm giving an example, but it is not been. What happens? since it is not been invested in the specified mode, it would not be exempted. It would be included. So what way it would be included? That income will be categorized as specified income. So in our case, the corpus fund, since the trust has not invested in the specified amount, 55 lakh rupees was the corpus fund, trust only invested 15 lakh rupees in the post office and Canara Bank fixed deposits, right? Remaining fund they have utilized for other purpose. So that 30 lakhs amount which the fund has, used for purchasing the computers will fall under the specified category of specified income, right? Then in case if the trust has applied that income for the benefit of any specified prohibited, 13.3 categorized, giving the list of certain persons for which the trust cannot utilize their fund for that purpose. There are the list. You please go through that list for author of the trust, in case of a HUF or member, any member of the HUF, in case if a contributor which is the contribution exceeds 50,000 rupees, that type of list is given. You go through that list, important list. In case if the fund is utilizing for that purpose, then also that amount would be deemed as your specified income. Then any income derived from a property held under the trust for a charitable purpose, which is tend to promote international welfare, in which India is interested to the extent to which such income is not applied. If we are utilizing that fund for the outside purposes, right, not falling under 11(1)(c) mein nahi fall kara, then it would be deemed as your income. So ye wala aayega. Now let's go to our question. यहाँ पे क्या था? स्पेसिफाइड इनकम ओनली 30 lakhs हो गया आंसर. नाउ वी रीड दिस क्वेश्चन स्पेसिफाइड इनकम. मैंने यहाँ पे आपको सिर्फ एक only one reasoning दी है. Here what would be the amount of specified income taxable at the rate 30% under section 115 BBI. I explained all the provisions of what would classify as specified income. So one is your corpus fund. What another income? Let's see and go through the information given in the case scenario. What it is? First, the corpus fund हो गया, 30 lakh का, you are aware of that figure. Then what is the another figure? This, see here, 6 lakhs. What is the 6 lakh amount? This amount is accumulated. This amount was accumulated in the previous year 2023 by the trust and utilized in the previous year 23-24 for making donation to another charitable trust. For giving the donation to another charitable trust, right?
Along with that, corpus fund में trust was also invested in NBFC, which is also not a specified mode under section 11(5).
Yes.
This will also be a specified income. Suppose because trust has received 55 lakh as a corpus donation, it has invested only 15 lakh in the specified mode. So remaining 40 lakh, which
yes, that is also there. That the income which is not forming part of it, which is not exempt. Why? Because it is not invested in the specified mode. So corpus fund is one of the income. How much is not invested in the specified mode? Is 30 lakhs. Computers ka plus this 10 lakhs. Right? What another income? Amount accumulated or set apart. Right? Amount accumulated or set apart, but it is given to another trust of 6 lakhs. Anybody who was answering this question? I have already, given you all the information actually. So there are 4 options are given, which are very, interlinked options. That first option is 30 lakhs is the specified income as the amount of computers. And then B option is 46 lakhs, then 48 lakhs, then 16 lakhs. What is the correct answer?
Yeah, we got the answer from Preeti, Sridharan and Prasad.
Yes.
Yes, all are saying 46 lakhs. Yeah, that's the correct answer. The correct answer is 46 lakhs.
You got it right. So the correct answer is 46 lakhs. So you have to look for that information. This information is not given at one place, right? Corpus donation information is given in point number 2, then your 3, then your 4, then again this 7. 3 places this information is given for computing this specified income. So that information you have to gather from the case scenario. That's what I would like to tell you. I want to inform you. Now let's move to the another question. Question number 10. What amount could be considered as application of the trust for the previous year 23-24? assuming that it has fulfilled the relevant condition stipulated under section 12A. See here, we are not talking about 15%.
15%.
We are here talking about 85%. 85% के लिए what are the things which can be treated as your application? वो आपको समझना है यहाँ पे. इसके लिए let's see. See here what the trust is doing. 30 lakhs is invested. Corpus fund में invest किया उसने. Can it be treated as an application? First, I want to answer from you whether this amount of corpus fund which is utilized for purchasing the computers can be treated as application of income. I want to answer from you. First question. Then second, the trust has purchased the computers for 25 lakhs out of the borrowings. Can it be treated as an application or voluntary contributions? What it is?
So tell us from the point 3. Then from this 80 lakh, how much is the application from this 80 lakh?
Waiting for your answers. From this 80 lakhs purchase of computers, how much would be treated as your? Nothing.
Preeti, Mansha, are you saying for 30 lakhs for no answer or for this 80 lakhs?
80 lakhs.
Just say कि out of this 80 lakhs, how much will be the application? How much will be the treated as an application of the trust from this 80 lakh? Come on, students.
$25 lakhs. Prashad is saying 25 lakhs is the answer.
First of all, Prashad, we are not discussing the answer yet. We are just saying about the point number 3 only. Ki in this point number 3, computers have been purchased for 80 lakh. 30 lakhs from the corpus fund, 25 lakhs from loan, and 25 lakh from voluntary contribution. So tell me, from this 80 lakh, how much will be treated as an application of the trust? Because we will see the transaction point wise. And 25 lakh ke computer you are telling for loan, for voluntary contribution, or for what? Come on, students. Yes, Preeti is saying application 25 lakh of voluntary. Mansha is saying 30 lakh.
See, Mansha, the computers are being purchased from corpus fund, from loan and voluntary contributions. I already explained you about corpus donation. The amount which is being spent from the corpus donation, not for the purpose for which it was being specifically been given, then it would not be classified as your application of income, right? It would not, right? So 30 lakhs cannot be treated as your application. Further, there is an explanation 4.2 to section 11 is also there in respect of loan actually, which is saying if the trust is purchasing something out of the borrowings, right, then it would not be treated as your application. It would not be. Only it would be treated if it is repaid. In the year A, whatever be the amount is repaid back, then that amount will be considered as your application. So here, this amount, 30 lakhs will not be treated as your application. This also not treated. So only voluntary contribution for computers will be treated as application. Okay, now I think up to this you are clear with the concept that loan nahi hoga, corpus fund nahi hoga. There are provisions. Please go through. There is an amendment also. Let me go tell you these amendment what it is actually. Corpus fund ke relation mein amendment. Let me tell you. Just a minute. See, here if you see this corpus donation related, that I already explained 11(1)(d) that they have to be spent in specified modes. Then if it is being spent for any other purpose, it will not be treated as as application. यहाँ तक तो ठीक था. Once they reinvested back, it would be classified as application subject to certain conditions. This is an amendment basically. What are those conditions? Read those conditions very carefully. What are those conditions? If application should be in India, of course it should be in India except with the approval of the board. If application should not be by way of donation to the corpus of another trust or institution. If you are doing the, spending that amount, if you are making the application, you have done the application by way of giving the some corpus. यहाँ पे computers था, ठीक है, तो आपने reinvest किया, then it is eligible for your application. Reinvest जब करोगे तब मिल जाएगा. But आपने first hand पे what you have done, you have given to the other trust as corpus fund, then it would not be treated as an application even though you are reinvesting back also. ठीक है, then also it would not be classified as your application. TDS need to be deducted whenever you are spending that money. TDS provisions are applicable, right? It is given that 40A1A is applicable. So you have to comply with TDS provisions. You have to do for treating as an application. Application has to be made by way of exceeding, if the application amount exceeds 10,000, then it has to be made by way of the mode, the specified account pay check or the specified electronic modes is there. Carry forward and set off of excess application is not allowable here. Application is allowed in the year in which actually paid. You are spending something, you are purchasing something, but you have not made the payment for it. Actual payment, there is a condition on the trust. In case of treating as application, then the trust has to actually pay the amount. This is another provision actually. So according to similar provision, they have come, consider here also while treating as application at the time of reinvestment also. You have to see how the trust has spent that money first time pay. At the time of reinvestment, since you are considering that it as an application, at that time you have to see how the trust has, spent that money. Then it should not be directly or indirectly spent for the benefit of any person, referred under section 13(3). Further, there is another important condition that the trust has to deposit back the amount into the corpus within 5 years time. Within how much time? 5 years time they have to come back and deposit that amount in the specified modes. Note, very important note, that no application would be allowed for the amount invested or deposited back in the specified mode where application was made out of corpus on or before. If something you have spent out of the corpus on or before 31/3/2021, then it would not be treated as an application even though you are reinvesting back, right? So this is the thing. Similarly, loan के लिए भी same type of condition. Explanation 4.2 is there, where the condition, in case if you are repaying the money, you have to satisfy the specific condition in order to claim the expenditure as application. Am I right?
Yes.
So these are the thing. You understood? I want to just say you that while treating as an application, you have to comply with those conditions. इस तरीके से टेस्टिंग हो सकती है आपकी. Similarly, यहाँ पे आपका पॉइंट भी दिया हुआ है. If you see कि ट्रस्ट ने क्या किया, ट्रस्ट हैज डिपॉजिटेड 15 lakhs towards post office saving. मतलब ट्रस्ट इज reinvesting that amount which the trust has spent in the previous year 2021, right, and previous year 21-22 out of corpus fund. So 10 lakh is related to previous year 2021 and 5 lakh relates to 21-22. ठीक है? So this is not classified as application since it is spent on or before 31/3/2021. This will not be treated as an application even though you have reinvested back, right, and complying with other conditions. This would not be. So after this 1/4 on or after this 1/4/2021 only, whatever be the amount reinvested back is, if you are spending that amount out of the corpus, then only it will be treated as an application. Understood it? So this, इसमें से how much you can? Only 5 lakh. So आपका क्या आया? यहाँ पे आपका 25 lakh is considered as application, right? This 5 lakh. What another thing? What can be classified as your application? Point number 6 is saying that the trust has given to the another trust registered under 12 AB, second register में registered है, of 10 lakh rupees. ठीक है, 10 lakh दिया उसने. Out of the said amount, only 2 lakhs are given as corpus. So corpus तो classify कभी नहीं होगा. ठीक है, corpus तो always remember it will not be current year हो चाहे accumulated हो, नहीं होगा classified as application. Remaining 8 lakhs. So whole 8 lakh हो जाएगा, or there is some other condition. there is an amendment in relation to this also. What is this amendment actually? That it's 85% will only classify as your, this is explanation 4.3 to section 11.1 is there. Explanation 4.3 to 11.1. Only 85% of the amount credited or paid other than corpus donation to another trust out of the current year income would be considered as your application, right? सिर्फ तो 85% क्लासीफाई होगा यहाँ पे. So यहाँ पे 8 लाख हो, how much? 8 लाख का आपको 85% अमाउंट निकालना पड़ेगा. How much it is coming? 30 lakhs plus 36 point, it is 8 lakhs. I hope that this is clear to you. That loan का कब होगा? What are the condition when it will be treated as your application? Corpus fund का when it would be treated as your application, or your amount 85% when they are paying to another trust, not as a corpus, then only 85%. This is a new amendment, so these are really very important, right? So accordingly, the answer is 36.8 lakhs. You got it, I think. Let's take it fast. This anonymous donations, already it's 12:50. I think we are going to take only this question for charitable trust. And meanwhile, if you have any doubts, this is an easy question. I think you can all answer this question, but let me explain once to you. What is this BBC? You are already aware of this. Before starting all this, suppose a religious trust. Suppose a religious trust which is wholly on religious activities. Tell me whether section 115 BBC 11 applies to them. BBC applies to them on religious trust. I want you to answer this question.
And just before that, just Preeti, regarding the, I guess, earlier MCQ, Preeti is asking, please explain the application part of point 5.
Point 5. Yeah, this is important, Preeti. Actually, what happened now? I already told you. In case if trust, suppose in the year 2021 may it receives certain corpus fund, ठीक है? Out of that corpus fund, instead of investing in a specified mode, trust has utilized it for purchasing something, right? So 2021 may it has done it. Now in the current year, in the current previous year, they want to reinvest back in the specified mode. तो यहाँ पे प्रोविजन क्या आया? इफ द ट्रस्ट हैज डन सो बिफोर 31/3/2021, दे हैव स्पेंट समथिंग आउट ऑफ कॉर्पस फंड, दैट अमाउंट विल नॉट बी ट्रीटेड एज योर एप्लीकेशन. सेम हियर व्हाट इज हैपनिंग हियर? इफ ट्रस्ट हैज डन 2021 में यूटिलाइज्ड इट फॉर परचेजिंग द बिल्डिंग out of the corpus fund 2021 before 31/3/21, then what is happening? 10 lakh rupees they are reinvesting back, but that amount would not be treated as your application. That amount would not be treated as the application. Only 5 lakh which is reinvesting back in which is being utilized out of the corpus fund in the previous year 21-22 is treated as your application fund. Am I right, Dimple?
Yes.
Got it? There is an actual amendment actually. This is the amendment basically. This year's amendment. Earlier ये सारी conditions नहीं थी. Even straightforward. You are reinvesting back. You are getting the application. You would be eligible for the application. But from this years, they have put certain conditions for treating as an application. So this is also one of the thing that if out of corpus अगर आपने उससे पहले किया है 31/3/21 से पहले किया है, if you have spent that money, then it would not be treated though you have reinvested back in the.
Because if you see that because now for corpus donation,
I think
because corporate donation pehle it was exempt. It didn't form part of your total income at all. Whether you have invested in 11/5 mode or not, it was completely not included in your total income. But after that, the condition was put that corpus donation would not form part of total income only and only if you have you have deposited in a 11/5 mode. So before that, if anything you have purchased or not, you have deposited in 11/5 mode or not, it was exempt. So again, if you are doing something, if you are again depositing back, so there is no purpose of allowing application or exemption here, because already you got the exemption in the earlier previous year. So there will be double exemption. So that's why this date 31st March 2021 is there. If before that you have done purchase something from the corpus donation and now you are investing back, it doesn't make any difference, because in the earlier previous
that
year
condition was not there actually. That condition was not there for excluding it from the from the income. That condition itself, they have implemented from for this first
Yeah,
April,
first
1st April
April
21.
2021.
21 22 previous years से आई, so उससे पहले नहीं थी condition, in straightforward it was exempt actually, so that's why they have put this date. I think
Just moving to the next
I
last
think
MCQ.
they have cleared with this. I think before that, I want to clarify section kya, what type of questions can be asked in, and we can take that portion. That anonymous donation is a very easy question, and I think you all are aware the religious trust पे BBC नहीं लगता है, और BBC का 30% का rate है, and how the taxability is determined, that it is 1 lakh or 5% of the total donation, whichever is higher. Right? In excess of that would be taxable at 30%. Others are taxable at normal. So this is a very easy provision. You all are aware. Before taking that, I want to just, let's brief about the other sections. Right? We can do that. Dimple, would you like to proceed with? Or do I?
Okay, regarding the section 2, we have already said that section 2 comprises of your chapter 13 to 20, which is your procedural law. So in this case, the weightage is 20 to 30%. So in this, your tedious provisions are there: assessment procedure, income tax authority, appeals revision, dispute resolution, miscellaneous, penalty, black money, and now most important, tax audit and ethical compliance is also there. So this 20 to 30% can be asked in the form of case scenario, in the form of short case scenario, which comprises of only one MCQ, or in the descriptive part also. So for that, you have to thorough with all these assessment provisions and black money also, because black money and tax audit has been introduced in your syllabus for the first time in this new scheme. So definitely go through this very carefully, black money provisions. And the tax audit ke liye we have given some cases also at the end of the
Based
chapter.
on ethical compliance.
Yeah, ethical compliances, that what the tax auditor should do and what to report and how to report and what are the compliances he should follow and in the ethical manner.
Code of conduct is there actually. वहाँ पे उसके schedules will applicable for doing unethically things. Then a professional misconduct will be considered. So those type of ethical case studies are being reported and given to you. Go through those case study. It is an important one actually. If you are doing this tax audit chapter, you should have a thorough understanding of the earlier provisions. Whatever you have done till date. वो सारा यहाँ पे, whether it's transfer pricing 94B में जाओ, 92C में जाओ, everything, disallowances हैं, everything you have to most of the things reporting things. So all overall income tax act will come, you will see in the tax audit paper. See, TDS again is a very very important topic. Very important topic. Go through, बहुत scoring भी है. It's easy to understand actually. थोड़ा learn करना पड़ता है, आपको remember करना पड़ता है. And sections भी, I must say कि बच्चे बहुत पूछते हैं कि do I write the sections or not? But for these TDS specifically, we want to say that you should remember the sections. Otherwise, you will not able to get a grasp of the provision. You have a good hold over the provision. You should remember the sections. उसी के through you read the sections. Even we advise the students to go through the BARE Act also. Try to refer the BARE while doing the study from the study material. Also refer the BARE Acts. It will give you the better understanding of the provisions, how to read the provisions from the BARE Act. It will give you, because you are going to be a professional, you are going to deal with the clients and all, so you should know how to, because keep on changing every time. Whatever you have studied, you have to abreast yourself with the latest amendments, right? Like GST आया, तो you have to have the knowledge of GST. As in बहुत time पहले we have done the GST, but now since it's a new law, you have to study. When you are know how to read the law, then what type of law is given to you, you will able to understand it, right? So TDS is very important. We have actually planned to discuss the TCS provision, which is very important. That is TCS under section 206C1G. There is an amendment actually. Or वो भी amendment in mid of the year, it is implication are there. So different types of rates are there. Very important. There is a guideline also being issued by the CBDT, and which clarifies certain points. What would be the threshold limit? Overseas remittances के लिए क्या होगी? Overseas tour package के लिए क्या होगी? There would be different threshold limits होगी. Or in case if the authorized dealers are different, then they would see the different threshold limits, or what this type combined limit. Combined limit would be there. So one case scenario is already there in your RTP. Go through that article, already you have done. So I think you can say that I have done. we please reply us that you would able to arrive at the correct answers or not for that case scenario which is given in the RTP based on that provisions of tax section 2061G. I want you to answer, please. How many of you have attempted that case scenario and would able to arrive at the correct answers? This is quite, many rates are there actually. It's quite confusing also. Medical, education, other remittances, education if it is out of the loan or borrowings,
Borrowing.
different rate is there.
And
right?
date also. You
Date
have
also
to-
again, very important actually. वहां पे आपका in case of overseas आपको tour package पे है, if it is for the overseas, you are purchasing something as a overseas tour package, then up to 30th of September 23 there is a without any threshold 5% rate is there, right? उसके बाद क्या हुआ, after on or after 1st October 23 there is a 2 slab rates type चलेगा कि up to 7 lakh it is 5%, beyond 7 lakh it is 20%. तो ये आपको you have to remember, ठीक है? और उसमें क्या है, another thing कि if you are purchasing it from a foreign tour operator, अगर आप foreign tour operator से ले रहे हो, then how it would be classified? Still it would be classified as your overseas tour package. सेम प्रोविजन लगे, ऐसे नहीं वो रेमिटेंसेस में क्लासिफाई होगा, नो इट वुड. और इंडिपेंडेंट थ्रेशोल्ड लिमिट्स आर देयर फॉर ओवरसीज रेमिटेंसेस के लिए अंडर एलआरएस और फॉर ओवरसीज टूर पैकेज के लिए डिफरेंट थ्रेशोल्ड, इंडिपेंडेंट थ्रेशोल्ड लिमिट्स आर देयर फॉर बोथ, राइट? एजुकेशन की व्हाट इज द डेफिनेशन ऑफ एजुकेशन, व्हाट एक्सपेंडिचर आर क्लासिफाइड एज एजुकेशन, व्हाट एक्सपेंडिचर क्लासिफाइड एज मेडिकल, सो गो थ्रू दोस थिंग्स, ठीक है?
And for loan also, if you are taking a loan,
एजुकेशन लोन वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, इट
loan from whom?
हाँ, फ्रॉम whom. अगर if you have taken the loan from your friend or something and remitting from employer, it would not be tax, TCS would not be deducted at the 0.5%. It would be deductible at 5% if it is beyond the threshold limit. वहाँ पे threshold limit लगेगी. कब लगेगी वो देखना है. You have to see those threshold limits.
So loan should be from the financial institution under section 80 only. So you have to see all these things.
Very important. So मतलब इस तरीके से जैसे TCS के provisions है ना, try to revise those rates or threshold limits before your examination, so that आप वहाँ पे भूलो ना, कोई confusion ना हो उस केस में, ठीक है? So try to revise those kinds of things before your examination. Otherwise और तो सब आपको thoroughly revision करना ही है. You have to revise everything. You cannot skip anything. So this is about section 2. Prashad, you got it right. Very good. What about others? No one else is answering? If you are not, then we have another BoS session is there. Then we can take that 2061 related case scenario. There we will be discussing.
Before that, try to whosoever not done the RTP like Mansha, done your RTP, your MTP, and second series of MTP, and take your doubts also in that session. Just make use of this session very properly. If you have any doubts now, then you can just ask the doubt.
Right? So this is about section 2. And Mansha or other students also please note, before attempting your RTP, study fully from your study material. ठीक है? आप ना अच्छे से पूरा cover कर लो whole syllabus, then only you do your RTP. Then only you will able to understand what is the level of your preparedness, right? अगर नहीं आ रहा है, something you are not able to do, then please again visit those provisions, read them thoroughly. और प्लस वन मोर थिंग, जो बच्चे बहुत बड़ी गलती दे डू, what they do not want to solve the questions. उन्हें लगता है कि they are wasting their time in solving it. They know it very well. But actually when it comes to the examination, they find it very difficult to answer those questions. For that, it is advisable to solve each and every question by writing and solving in the pen, taking pen paper, right? Then only you will come to know how you are presenting your answers, how you are approaching the question. Are you able to understand the requirement or not? Understanding the requirement again a big question mark. क्योंकि बच्चे ये करते हैं, पूछा कुछ होता है, but they are answering differently. Don't do that. Please read the requirement of the question. What exactly question requires you to answer? Accordingly you answer. Don't write big theories or big answers. To the point you will get the marks. Or whatever the important things you can underline with your pen, whatever pen you are using, now you underline those things to highlight those important points, right? You can do that strategy. You can do, right? Don't write big paras and all. Try to write brief paragraphs and all.
Yeah, in the bullet forms or in the points.
That would fetch you good marks actually. This thing plus case law based question will be there. Case law based question ka specifically question paper nowadays itself mentions. Earlier, what happened when we were attempting, it was not mentioned how to
present,
approach the
yes,
case law based
yes.
question. Nowadays, question itself contains that you have to,
Write your issue. What is the
issue
issue
involved. You have to identify the issue. Then you have to write the provision applicable. Then you have to analyze the things. Then
And
you
then
arrive at the conclusion. So in these 4 parts, you have to approach answering the case law based question. This is the strategy for case law based question. Read whatever case laws are given. Judicial update also, please go through it. This is about it. And section 3, I think we can cover what section 3. I already told it has a huge weightage. International taxation, non-resident taxation, DTA. 1 or the 2 question on DTA. 1 question must be there in the DTA. Non-resident पे भी होगा ही होगा. Then transfer pricing again. Transfer pricing में computation of arm length price. Secondary adjustment 92 CE. Then your primary adjustment. There is an interplay between these secondary adjustment and the 94B. कि कौन सा पहले लगाएंगे, that kind of things. So please do attempt whatever given your study material and try to understand and correlate, because that adjustment, primary adjustment, secondary adjustment, 94B, which will be applicable first, that we would like to actually take in this session, but this is time is not possible. In the next session, we will try to make you clear with that concept of 92CE and 94B. Then your advanced ruling, board for advanced ruling is there. Earlier that advanced ruling was binding. Now the assessing,
yes,
it's appellable. It is appellable before the High Court. What is the time limit for appealing it? In what circumstances can an assessee approach the advanced ruling? That circumstances you have to learn. And then a knowledge-based question, maybe of 6 marks, maybe there from these overview of model tax conventions, OECD, UN, or this application interpretation, fundamental of BAPS, and latest development in international taxation. This is of section 3. Accordingly, you proceed and solve the read this section. Then what are the important things actually? I would like to tell you what are the important things. This is very, very important. कि आपका whatever be the tax rates given in the DTA. Suppose एक MCQ आ गया. In the MCQ it is saying that certain FTS is providing that FTS relation information is given, and it is given that the rate provided in FTS is 20%. Now there is an amendment in FTS and royalty rate also. They have been increased to 20%. Earlier it was taxable at 10%. Now it has been increased to 20%, right? In under section 115A, उसमें भी there are certain things कि 44DA में taxable होगा, 115A में taxable होगा. Section 9 again is very, very, very important for approaching the international taxability. Non-resident की taxability, section 9 plays a very important role. ठीक है? First of all, that income should be taxable. Once it becomes taxable, then you will say in what manner that income is taxable in the hands of the non-resident. Whether the special rate 115A के according होगा, or it is taxable at the 44DA in case if it is engaged in having a PE in India. In that case वो आपको देखना है. तो for example, I am saying कि अगर कोई MCQ दिया है, वहाँ पे लिखा है कि that FTS is given to you, FTS is given, and the DTA rate is also provided. DTA rate is also saying that it is taxable at 20%. ठीक है? यहाँ पे आपको पहले तो taxability देखनी होगी कि at what rate it would be taxable. You know that the DTA has to be read in line with the Income Tax Act. Whichever is beneficial, you will apply that rate, right? So keep in mind, जो DTA का जो 20% का rate है, and if it is taxable at income tax का 20% rate, what rate would be applicable? What rate would be? Which is beneficial for the assessee? Do you know it? Would you like to answer it? Anybody, would you like to answer? If DTA provides a rate of 20% for FTS, and as per the income tax also it is taxable at 20%, at what rate ultimately the FTS would be taxable? I want you to answer it. ऐसे यहाँ पे स्क्रीन पे आ रहा है. Now you answer.
Come on, students. Yes, Prasad, you are right. 27 minutes for descriptive, but for MCQ also you have to see the time limit, because in the case scenario based MCQ, because you don't need to write the reasoning, you are not supposed to give the working notes there. So you can cut short the time here and devote the more time to the descriptive portion. Yeah, Manisha is given the answer for your question.
DTA. Very good, Manisha. Yes, DTA. Why? Because DTA rights are inclusive of surcharge and HEC. Whereas if you are taxing it as इनकम टैक्स रेट, सपोज इनकम टैक्स रेट आपका 10% होता, एज्यूम कर लो, तो 10% बेनिफिशियल हो जाता, इवन तो आप उस पर सरचार्ज भी लगा देते और HEC भी लगा देते, बट आपको देखना पड़ेगा, यू हैव टू अप्लाई दैट सरचार्ज, you have to see whether surcharge is applicable or not, and HEC is always has to be applied. So accordingly, please repeat the question, Preeti. Preeti, I am saying actually, if DTA rate is given to you and you have already determined that as per the Income Tax Act that FTS is taxable at 20% and DTA also provide at the rate of 20%, right? So at what rate that FTS would be taxable? What rate it would be taxable? I am saying the DTA rates are inclusive of surcharge and education cess. So in this case, particular case where the income tax rate is also 20% and DTA rate is also 20%, then DTA rate would become more beneficial.
Why? Because you have to add surcharge if applicable and HEC in the income tax rates. So you have to compare the income tax rate along with by considering the surcharge HEC and the DTA rates, because they are all inclusive of HEC and surcharge. So you have to compare after considering the surcharge and HEC.
Hope I am clear with this. Plus TDS ka also, please keep in mind, if something you are paying toward non-resident and computing the TDS, then first of all uski taxability to dekhoge whether it is taxable or not, then only TDS comes into picture. So us case mein aapka other than that rate applicable for deducting the TDS, you have to apply the health and education cess also.
Yes.
In case surcharge is also applicable, considering that amount, then surcharge also apply it. Okay? So that you have to keep in mind while solving the answer for giving the answer in relation to TDS for a non-resident. This is the thing we want to explain you. That this we will take you in the next class. Hope I think you all are clear with these things. Hope you enjoyed the session and find it very useful.
Yeah.
Hello, Abhi, just wait for a minute. Yes, Prashad is asking, but it will be 45 minutes for 22 question of MCQ, hence balance 135 minutes total allocated to 5 questions.
Prashad, if you see, you have a total 180 minutes and for your 100 marks paper. So accordingly, if you segregate for MCQ portion, it comes to 54. But definitely because in the 30 marks paper for MCQs, you don't need to give the reasoning. You are not required to give the explanation or to write anything. You have to just tick the answer. You can do the workings as in rough. So you can accordingly reduce this time of 54 to 40 or 45 minutes. What type of question is this? Then accordingly you can devote the more time to the descriptive question, because in descriptive your presentation matters a lot. You have to give the reasoning for each and every adjustment. You have to present, you have to write each and everything. So definitely descriptive will take more time than the MCQ portion in terms of writing.
Actually, MCQs may will take some less time because you need not to give any reasoning there. But try to be very alert while doing
Yes.
MCQs. If you've gone wrong, then it's really very you will not get any marks. So you should be very alert, and whatever time now you give, you have solved once the MCQ, then again please revisit again whether you have ticked it properly or not in the OMA sheet, whether the option which you have chosen is correct or not. So give keep some time for revisiting the MCQ section.
Yeah, because option will be so close ones now, you will get confused. You will get all the answers, the wrong answers also. So you have to be more careful while solving the MCQ. Right. So in that way, you can approach and manage the time. Hope you all are finding this session useful. Yes. And thank you so much for being so interactive and enjoying the session. And in case of any query, you can ask to us through the mobile app or dt-final@ICAI.in. And thanks a lot. And wish you a very all the best for your exams. Right. And we will meet you in the next session, the next month also. If so, just pile up your queries, whatever the queries, and we will solve it in the next session. Yeah. If you have done well, definitely you are going to come with the flying colors. Don't worry about it. Have confidence on yourself, right? This is the peak time. You have to, indulge in the studies only. And DT, frankly speaking, DT आपका IBS में भी है. Yes,
ठीक है, दिस इज
this
वेरी
will help
इंपॉर्टेंट.
you both the papers, your core
DT,
paper and
IDT, everything. Of course, IBS is multidisciplinary, so it involve you all the subjects. But of course, it is group 2, तो आपको ये वहाँ पे help भी करेगा, यहाँ पे DT, right? वहाँ पे भी you will be benefited by understanding and reading the provision thoroughly. वो दोबारा से आपको उसको पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं है, आपने एक बार यहाँ पे पढ़ लिया तो आप कुछ भी पूछ लो, you can answer easily, right? So thank you so much. Now we can wind up our session.